Pogba, the weight of genius. He was once the most expensive footballer on the planet. Yet the moment fans remember most vividly wasn't a goal or a trophy. It was the day, more than 2 years into professional exile, that a French crowd rose to its feet just to watch him walk onto the pitch. Paul Pogba's story is not simply one of talent, though the talent was undeniable from the start. It is a story about how quickly the world builds a throne for a gifted young man, and how mercilessly it can be taken away. Paul Pogba was born on March 15, 1993, in Lagny-sur-Marne, a quiet town outside Paris, the youngest of 3 brothers in a Guinean immigrant family. His twin brothers, Florentine and Matthias, were footballers too, and the Pogba household was one where the ball never stopped moving, where ambition was ordinary rather than exceptional. Life in the working-class suburbs of the Île-de-France region was not easy, but football offered an escape route that felt within reach if the work was put in. Paul's early promise showed itself at Roissy-en-Brie, and then within the academy system of Le Havre, a club with a long tradition of producing talent for the French game. Even as a boy, teammates and coaches noticed something rare: a frame growing taller and stronger by the season, paired with a touch and vision that seemed to belong to a much smaller, craftier player. It was an unusual combination, and it would define everything that followed. In 2009, at 16, Pogba made the leap that would alter the entire arc of his career. He left France for Manchester United's youth academy, a decision that stunned some in the French football establishment and signaled, even then, a young man unafraid of upheaval. Under the guidance of United's famed youth setup, he progressed rapidly, captaining sides and drawing comparisons to some of the club's greatest midfielders. He made his first-team debut for United in 2011, but first-team opportunities under manager Sir Alex Ferguson remained scarce, and tension over playing time and contract terms began to build. Then came the moment that first revealed Pogba's willingness to gamble on himself. In the summer of 2012, his United contract expired, and instead of re-signing, the teenager walked away on a free transfer to Juventus. Ferguson would later call the decision a disrespectful one. The football world called it a wake-up call. Nobody expected the 18-year-old to justify the move as spectacularly as he did. At Juventus, Pogba blossomed with startling speed. Deployed as a box-to-box midfielder with license to drive forward, he became a key architect of a Juventus side rebuilding its dominance in Italian football. Between 2012 and 2016, he won 4 consecutive Serie A titles, along with domestic cup honors, establishing himself as one of the most complete young midfielders in the world. In 2013, he was awarded the Golden Boy Prize, recognizing him as Europe's finest talent under 21, validation that the gamble on himself had paid off in full. His game was a paradox that delighted spectators. Enormous physical power paired with delicate close control, thunderous long-range shooting paired with the vision to thread passes through defenses that seemed to have no gaps. That same summer, Pogba lifted the Under-20 World Cup with France, hinting at the international glory still to come. By 2016, Juventus had turned an academy reject into arguably the most coveted midfielder on earth, and Manchester United, the club that let him leave for nothing, paid a then-world record fee of around £89 million to bring him home. The return to Old Trafford in the summer of 2016 was staged like a homecoming for footballing royalty, and for a time, Pogba delivered on the spectacle. In his first season back, he helped United win both the League Cup and the UEFA Europa League, providing the kind of box-office moments, thunderous strikes, audacious flicks, a flair for occasion that made him one of the most-watched players in the sport. But it was on the international stage, not at club level, where Pogba reached the true summit of his career. At the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia, playing as the engine of a French midfield built around discipline and explosive transitions, Pogba was instrumental to France's triumph. He scored in the final itself, a rocketing strike against Croatia that put an exclamation point on France's second World Cup title. And his performances throughout the tournament, marrying defensive diligence with attacking bravery, marked the peak of his powers. For a young man who had once been dismissed as a luxury player, lifting the World Cup as a central figure of a champion nation was the ultimate answer. Yet the years that followed at Manchester United told a more complicated story. Despite flashes of brilliance, Pogba's second spell at the club became defined as much by inconsistency, injuries, and swirling speculation about his future as by his undeniable gifts. He won no further major trophies with United after that opening season, a statistic that sat uneasily alongside his price tag and his talent. And by 2022, the relationship had run its course. He departed on a free transfer, choosing an emotional return to Juventus, the club where his career had first caught fire. It was meant to be a triumphant second chapter written on his own terms. Instead, it became one of the most painful periods of his professional life. Persistent knee injuries limited him to a mere handful of appearances, robbing him of the World Cup in Qatar just months after his return. And then, in September 2023, everything stopped entirely. A doping test returned positive for DHEA, a substance that boosts testosterone, and Pogba was provisionally suspended. In February 2024, he was handed a 4-year ban, a sentence that, for a player already 30 years old, sounded very much like the end. What followed was not silence but a fight. Pogba maintained his innocence throughout, insisting the substance had entered his system unknowingly, and he took his case to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. In October 2024, the panel agreed to reduce his ban to 18 months, restoring a sliver of hope that his career was not, in fact, finished. He used the enforced absence in unexpected ways, even appearing in a French film as a youth football coach, a strange echo of the mentorship he could no longer offer on a real pitch. Juventus, his contract exhausted by the ordeal, mutually terminated their agreement with him in November 2025, and for a moment Pogba was a World Cup winner without a club, turning down lucrative offers from Saudi Arabia and the United States in pursuit of something else. A way back into the game he loved on merit rather than money. He found it with AS Monaco, signing a free transfer in the summer of 2025 fittingly, the first French club of his senior career. On November 22, 2025, more than 2 years since he had last kicked a competitive ball, Pogba walked onto the pitch as a substitute in the 85th minute of a match against Rennes. The Rosen Park crowd, mostly there to support the opposition, rose and applauded him regardless. It was a small, quiet moment compared to lifting the World Cup, but in some ways it carried more weight, proof that a career written off by scandal, injury, and public judgment could still find its way back to the only place that had ever truly made sense to him. Pogba himself admitted the road back to full fitness and to relevance for the France national team he once anchored was still uncertain and unfinished. Paul Pogba's legacy will forever be debated in two competing registers. The extraordinary heights of Serie A dominance and World Cup glory, achieved by a player whose gifts genuinely rank among the finest of his generation, set against the turbulence, unmet potential, and scandal that shadowed his most expensive years. He was never simply a footballer. He was a symbol of what immense talent looks like when it is trusted, and of how fragile even the brightest careers can be. Whatever chapters remain to be written at Monaco, his story stands already as one of the most compelling in modern football, a reminder that greatness and vulnerability so often share the same story, and that redemption, however incomplete, is still worth chasing. Paul Pogba is still currently an active player, although he has mutually agreed with Monaco to terminate his contract on September 1, 2026. Pogba will be a free agent again while looking for a new club for the new season.